Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Carolyn. And this is a repeat, and Carolyn, the lawyer, we're pretty familiar with. Here's her story. Dear Ollie, hello, I hope you are feeling better. Best to Charlene and congratulations on the new job. It's Carolyn, the criminal defense attorney from La Jolla, with two goddamn old rich, and as it turns out, really rich narc parents, Jay and Lael. I should really be writing a motion right now to dismiss a case against me by, you guessed it, an utterly frivolous and absurd case filed by my client's borderline sociopath ex-wife. And while I practiced criminal law for about 22 years, in the last few years, I have just punched my bucket list for talking to tweakers. Plus, nobody is getting arrested or prosecuted for any crimes in California, so I transitioned over to practicing family law. Wow, look, I can't even imagine what a disaster that must be like. From going from criminal law, and you're right, I mean, if there's one thing that you don't want to be dealing with, it's pillheads and tweakers, and it's like they're the worst of the worst of the worst. And then you want to get involved in family law. Family law where narcissism runs wild. Family courts has been a hot topic on this channel since the beginning. The narcissism, the sociopathy of all of it, because it's all a money grab. I'm surprised I haven't heard from a lawyer before telling me they got targeted by a sociopathic ex on the other side. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. I figured since I had been divorced 3 times, I was probably an expert in it. But so many things are spinning around my head like a bunch of fireworks, so I figured it was time for another session with Ollie. Recently, I think it was Christine talked about that scene in Airplane when the passenger freaks out and everyone just lines up to kick the shit out of her with increasingly violent methods. I laughed my ass off when I thought about that, and it still makes me laugh to this day because that's precisely what you do, and it makes what you do so profound. You've done 3 videos for me, and you are the most effective. And I don't mean just cost-effective, but cognitively effective therapy that I have ever experienced. I have had the resources to spend thousands of dollars on therapy, which I did, but it never got me anywhere. I just spent $750 with you, and it's changed my life. So here's how. Just a quick recap for everyone. We are the textbook 4-person narc family. I'm the scapegoat, and I am a criminal defense attorney. I have worked really hard to have a good reputation, and I have defended some notable cases. If anyone is listening out there right now and you're thinking that maybe if you just achieve whatever milestone it is, then your family will finally recognize you for your talents and your worth as a human being, you had better disabuse yourself of that notion right the fuck now. And I talked about this. I mean, I looked and saw who Carolyn is, and she's been in the newspaper out on the West Coast. Her cases have gotten publicity. She's had major cases. This is a successful criminal defense attorney. And remember, it doesn't matter. It don't matter what it should. And we've said this in other videos, Carolyn. It didn't matter what you achieved. Okay, in that here you are as an attorney, and your parents don't even ask you illegal questions about anything, about legality, about the law, about the wills, about any of it. You're not taken seriously. Meanwhile, your brother, well, he can prance around and do what he does, right? Take a lesson from me. Don't be like me and spend 40 fucking years of your life trying to reach the brass ring that keeps getting pulled farther and farther away from you each time you circle the merry-go-round. Validation and appreciation are never going to be forthcoming. I could be a Supreme Court justice and my family would still treat me like shit. Get the fuck out now. Of course they would. Of course, they would. Wouldn't matter. And look, man, I mean, just like you were kind of alluding to the narcissism within the legal profession, from criminal law to family law. Look what happened. Look what happened with Kavanaugh. Look what even happened with Clarence Thomas. Even they can be smeared now. I mean, that's where we're at in society, that you can just smear anybody for no good reason, gaslight everybody, make up lies right out in the open. So is it any wonder why your parents would be able to do it to you so readily? I mean, look at what we just experienced. If you think deep down in your soul that your mom hates you, chances are you're absolutely correct. So just get the fuck out now. And I keep trying to tell people this, because what you have to ask yourself is, what is the end goal in all of this? If you think it, and she's right, and I've said this, your gut is telling you something. Your subconscious is telling you these things for a reason. You're not just making them up out of whole cloth. They want to make you think you are. They want to make you think you're crazy and evil, and have these abilities to think in such an evil way that only they can see it, and everybody can see it but you. And what drives you crazy is when all of your suspicions, all your sneaking suspicions deep down, they always end up being proven correct. Always. Have you ever been your suspicions ever been proven wrong? No. You thought they were proven wrong, or you were gaslighted enough into keeping your mouth shut, into lying to yourself that you were crazy or wrong. But no, eventually the truth always comes out, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And how many weeks, months, years, decades of your life do you lose? Believe in that. I just found out that I'm getting like a minuscule amount, like way less than 10% of my parents' estate as compared to my brother. My brother, Gordon, living in the $5 million house with the yacht, who just got out of the residential rehab for cocaine addiction about 3 months ago, is the golden child gay son husband. My parents are the wealthy social climbers, and I told you that I thought they were worth about $20 million. Well, it turns out they are worth a lot more than that, but more on that later. Well, I would say that just on their property alone, Carolyn. If they got property on the West Coast in La Jolla in California, they bought it back in the 80s, the 70s? I can only imagine just on property alone what it's worth. But Ollie, you were spot on in calling out my brother for exactly what he is, even down to the gay thing. It's unbelievable. Seriously, you're the narc whisperer. I told you that I thought my sister-in-law had purchased herself a place in Norway because she was likely sick of being the beard for a gay, cocaine-addled narcissist, because the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. As it turns out, they can't hide anything from me, but you were right. His wife has purchased herself a condo in Norway, and both my parents know that she and my brother are going to get divorced. Uh-oh. Now who's supposed to pose for the publicity pictures? My brother by himself? He doesn't circulate very well at social functions without her because he's such a dick. Nobody likes talking to him. Shatter goes the illusion of some kind of dynasty, which is the delusion my narc father apparently entertains 24/7 lately. So that's the new wrinkle in the mix. Flush old golden child son Gordo's 20-year marriage down the drain, and my brother's going to have to give her half of everything and pay her alimony for the rest of her life. That's how it works here in California. That's one divorce I want a ringside seat to. So, and here's the fucking ridiculous thing about it all. Fighting over a divorce is fucking pointless. It's pointless. It's a fucking cookie cutter at this point. It's just nothing. It's just an excuse for the lawyers to eat up the money. It didn't matter. So here's what you've done for me. When you made the video, the narcissist tells you they're sorry but doesn't show you. It's an audio of a completely and utterly bullshit apology by my mother, who basically told me, yeah, I knew I was hurting you. I was trying to, you dumb bitch. Well, I'd say that's the Ollie summary of that video, which is spot fucking on. Me being such a foolish, lame ass thinking, maybe this time it's going to be better, which of course it never is. It's only worse because they hoover you back in. So I'm crying in that video. Here's where I am today, less than 18 months later. About 10 days ago, I heard Lael fell and there was blood all over and she was in the hospital. Oh, they're so hard to kill, though. They're so hard to kill. And this is really my first video back since my hiatus. So this is a couple of weeks old. So I wish I had gotten to this one a little sooner. They're so hard to kill. They're so hard. They're so hard. They're so hard. They live forever. She's 88 and a half and has that really thin skin that just tears. Ugh. Plus, I told you earlier, she's so vain that she won't use the electric scooter. So, of course, she fell on the marble floor, and, well, you get the picture. Oh, yeah, that paper thin skin on marble. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember that from when I was a firefighter riding an EMS. Whew. Then I heard she was in the hospital day after day after day, and I was like, yes, please die, motherfucker, just die. Yeah, you heard me. I said it. Fuck yeah, you have nothing to say. Absolutely, you have every right to want the narcissist gone. You have every right to root for their fucking death. Every right. Every goddamn right, because that's the only way this shit ends, and it still doesn't end after they die, because you're still going to have to deal with all the fucking residual bullshit that even I didn't realize was going to happen until it happens. They're the gift that keeps on giving. They are truly herpes. That's narcissism. Narcissism is herpes. Once you've been around them, it's like how it's herpes. You just maintain it. You keep it at bay. You be honest about it. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Narcissism is truly herpes. Narcissistic herpes. That's what we get from them. And a lot of times the narcissist will give you real herpes, as we've heard so many times on this channel. You have every right to root for their demise. Every right. I said it. I want my mother to die. It felt so good to feel that and think that. It felt so natural, because who the fuck would love a person who you know deep down in your soul is your enemy? And that is it. You always feel like these people deep down, you know they're your enemy. You know they're going to hurt you. Now, that's not natural. I was driving in my car a couple days ago and just screaming at the top of my lungs, if there's a God on this planet, take that motherfucking bitch today. Please. She tortured me my entire life, and she doesn't deserve another breath of air. If you remember, 3 weeks before my mother died, my mother's birthday was on June 18th, and I did a fuck off video where I fell to my knees and begged, I get it, and begged, please. I even think I replayed phone call with narcissistic mother. I think I might even have done that. I still, please, strike my father dead, please. I know that motherfucker gonna live forever, because those Krauts, just, I've said, they've all lived into their 90s. They're fucking just, and the more evil the fucking German is, the longer they fucking, the more indestructible they are. Crazy. It's crazy. Unfortunately, the powers that be were not taking my call, so they put a fucking pacemaker in her. What a waste of money. Probably to collect the Medicare money. And last I heard, her color was getting better, but she can't stand up, so maybe she'll have to stay in a nursing home for a while. Oh no, she's not gonna like sleeping she's not gonna like not sleeping on her porthole sheets. Bad lawyer, double negative. Anyway, although I'm not a religious person, I consider myself a spiritual person along the lines of Newtonian physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I'm praying it won't be long now. Hopefully. Goddamn, these are some tough bastards. These motherfuckers never die. Herpes. Herpes. They're like her. They hang on, but they will die eventually. She will die eventually. I even told a couple of people, God, I wish she'd die right now. Of course, people get all freaked out when you say stuff like that. They're like, oh, you don't really mean that. Fuck yeah, I do. You want to bet? Want to bet? And I'm like, yeah, I sure do. And even though people might think, well, she's just going through some shit with her parents right now, I have never, ever felt so true to myself and my feelings since I was probably 8 years old, which is right about when I started hating her right back for being such a narcissistic bitch to me all my life. And that's the thing. People don't realize how it does. There's no guilt in saying that. I enjoy saying it. I enjoy saying I'm glad she's dead. I enjoy it. Because I know I got the truth on my side. I know I got it. All I have to do is go back and listen to the phone call with narcissistic mother. Or a gaslighting mother and lying on phone. That's all I need. And Carolyn, the fact that you got that recording of your mother lying to you and all that shit, it's all you need. Forever, you got her. You got her. Admitting what a horrible fucking twat waffle she is. They don't get it. You know, people don't understand what a good feeling it is. And it might sound sick to people who have normal parents, but they don't. We don't. Right after old Gordo was born, because she didn't need me anymore, and besides, I wasn't the perfect dolly I was supposed to be. Apparently, she was the perfect little dolly for her raging narc bitch mother, my grandmother, who I had previously referred to as Hitler, which is precisely why Lael ended up being a vicious and sadistic cluster B personality. Recall this sick bitch made me competitively ice skate, and I mean serious competition, traveling all over Southern California and play violin. The two exact same things that Lael did, which meant I could never live up to her standards, etc. I heard someone else talking about the fact that narc mothers want their daughters to be their little dollies. Okay, listen to this. I think they want them to be their inferior little dolly. They want to be the dolly that they tie up in the corner and yell at. That's what they want. They don't want them to be a dolly that they actually love and care about. They want to be the dolly abuse and push around and bully. Okay, listen to this. Lael has this room in her house and exclusively devoted to all these vignettes of rooms of miniatures on display. Each room has its own theme, and she must have spent $250,000 on miniature furniture and lights and sterling and china and drapes and so forth to create the exquisite miniature rooms, which I'm sure she did for herself, as she is incredibly creative and talented. I'll give the bitch that much. Look at the details she put into it. Look at it. Details she didn't really put into you, did she? Love and attention she didn't put into you. No, the dolls didn't have to competitively ice skate and play violin. No, the dolls got to sit there and wear pretty clothes and got special miniature furniture and made her happy. You're not a doll. You're lower than the doll. The dolls have 250 grand on miniature furniture for dolls? How much do they leave you in the estate? And you think, and anybody would think you should feel bad for wanting this bitch dead? Okay. Okay, let them think that. That's fine. Who gives a fuck what they think? There's no Valtrex. There's no Valtrex for narcissistic herpes, unfortunately. I mean, maybe this is your Valtrex. So now that she can't go upstairs and enjoy her unbelievably breathtaking Pacific Ocean view because putting in one of those lift chairs would ruin the looks of the house, I shit you not, she moved her bed downstairs to this creepy doll room and she just lies there surrounded by all her possessions. Fucking weirdo. Let her die there. You can take her with her. But here's the thing. Maybe all her little possessions, maybe all her little dolls will show up for her funeral too, huh? But here's the thing, and here's where I'm at. I hate her. I accept the fact that I hate her, and I feel a whole lot healthier now just to say that I hate her, and I hope she dies, because I do. She's done nothing all my life but try to fuck me over in the subtlest of ways, and I think a lot of times the money is a really good cover for the abusive narc bitch mother. I was driving home the other day and thinking about my experience with my narc parents and trying to go through a gratitude list because, let's face it, I do have an awful lot to be grateful for. I don't deny it for a minute. I have been given opportunities by the narcs because of that affluence that other people obviously aren't able to afford. So what? So what? You grew up in a different economic status, but their fucking narcissistic behavior is no different than I would say Nola, than anonymous Nola down in friggin' New Orleans, who grew up street fighting because her mother was turning her against everybody. Don't let the money and the affluence be a fucking illusion for any of this, because when you grow up with I know, I understand, it doesn't matter. I grew up affluent, then why do I have all the answers? Quote unquote, apparently. It isn't about money. It isn't. You got to get that out of your fucking head, Carolyn. That's what they want. They want you to think because they had money and you grew up in an affluent house. It doesn't fucking matter. It's meaningless in regards to narcissism. It's meaningless. In a lot of ways, it's worse because you're able to achieve a little bit more easily because you had money, being able to become a lawyer and a defense lawyer and do the things you do, and it still isn't good enough for them. You're able to achieve things that other kids, maybe less affluent, can't, and it ain't good enough. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Maybe you'd be better off being you'd be the same position mentally if you were a high school dropout. You know that? It wouldn't make a goddamn bit of difference to them. None. So why should the money? It doesn't. I loved it when you said Lael and Nola's mother fighting it out on the... Yeah, I didn't even remember saying... When Lael and Nola's mother fighting it out on the streets of New Orleans with the sisters were the same person. Exactly. I didn't even remember saying that. I didn't. And it's funny how I keep making a connection with you and her, but it's the same thing because it doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't. But then I start to think, well, how bad was it? As much as I'd like to sugarcoat it because I was never beaten, I always had food and shelter. My parents never murdered my animals like some stories I heard on your channel, and that just breaks my heart and makes me start crying. And I never cry. Ultimately, when it comes right down to it, it's the same fucked up mother who enjoys hurting their child. It's not that they do things that are inconsiderate or boorish or selfish. It's way beyond that. This is deliberate. It's premeditated, and it's what makes them tick. It keeps you trying to find the corner in the round room your entire life. I know that there are many other people out there who have seen that fucking smirk of satisfaction I've seen crossing Lael's face when she says something deliberately hurtful to me and then watches the pain register across my face. Right. That smirk is free. You can get that smirk at any price, can't you? And that's why the money doesn't matter. I told you that my aunt was coming down to confront my father about the fact that he was totally hosing me when he died. Since I was no contact with both the narcs, my aunt told Jay that I had told her everything. Nothing more specific than that. The first thing out of Jay's mouth was, "I'm not changing anything." Wow, you were right again. When you're over the target, it's 0 to 100 rage monster. He said that what he was leaving me was enough. Nobody ever got into that personal property part, which is actually the only thing I care about. Well, who knows now that they know the golden child wife is leaving. Don't know if Lael is going to be leaving her the 10-carat diamond, seeing as though she's going back to Norway. But anyway, you are right. He's a pure narc and nothing is going to change. But here's what I found out. Well, and here's what I'm going to tell you is going to happen here, Carolyn. If they're getting divorced, they're going to change the will to protect. They're going to set up some kind of trust. They're going to do something. So Gordo, it seems like Gordo isn't getting the amount of money that he's getting to screw over the ex-wife, so the ex-wife doesn't get it. But they're sure as hell not going to give it to you. That's for sure. Because they are sure, because would they rather her get half the money instead of you? Maybe. I mean, if that happens, holy shit. But here's what I found out. Yeah, it turns out old Jay here actually has about 40 million. I'm not trying to brag or boast, and the reason that I'm going into details about the amounts is going to be self-evident in a minute, because you said that they were probably going to screw me out of the life insurance policy when I went through my file. In 2000, they had 10 million in cash. Jay is a really savvy investor and very sophisticated. Okay, in 2008, I put 20,000 into 3 mutual funds with Fidelity, and I didn't put any more money in, and I didn't take any out. The 20,000 just sat there. I didn't move the funds, nothing. 10 years later, it's worth 3 times that. So you know Jay and Lael are sitting on a pile of cash if they didn't move it. Apparently, there are some plans for my parents to donate the majority of their money to some civic project so they can put their names on the side of a building. The ultimate narc act, as I said. But they're going to do that, okay? Well, not only does it benefit them, but they're doing that so I think Gordon's wife doesn't get half of it. Not gonna do the right thing by you, of course. Well, Lael in the hospital and my aunt and uncle down visiting Jay and being just generally about to blow a gasket, I confessed, I admit, and broke no contact because I finally just realized what a bunch of complete narcissistic assholes Jay and Lael are. I took some of the commenters' advice and launched my last fuck you letter, not to change them, but because it made me feel better to call them out on the facts. Yeah, nobody ever wants to talk about facts. Pure, objective facts, like dollars and cents. Because my father was whining to my aunt, why doesn't she just come in? After I went to go pick up my aunt and visit her. So in my last email to him, I told him that he already told him that he had already said everything he needed to say to me during this lifetime, and it was obvious that he never wanted me in the family to begin with. Everything you said, which was correct. That he was just fine for the last 12 years when Lael didn't talk to me. I said we were only related by blood, and we aren't family. It got better. I told Jay, before it was confirmed by my aunt, that my sister-in-law was divorcing my brother. And the reason that my sister-in-law was divorcing my brother is because my brother is a gay cokehead. And the reason my brother is a cokehead is because he's leading a double life. Jay immediately tried to defend my brother to my aunt, saying there's no way he's gay. And he's dating tons of women. Really, while he's still married to his wife and they are still living in the same house. How does that look to the outside world? Better yet, what the fuck are you doing dating anyone if you're newly sober? And nobody has filed for divorce yet? You are right. Put on my lawyer hat, cross-examine these shitbags, and the whole narrative falls apart. I finally realized that my father is going to do anything to completely suspend reality when it comes to Gordon. But you're right deep down. I think they both know he's gay, and I'm sure the wife probably told them. Yeah, he knows his precious sonny boy takes it in the ass. Exactly what they didn't want me to find out. So getting back to the ultimate narc civic memorial to yourself, how utterly fitting, and this notion of legacy that my pretentious narc father, see, look how far I've come. Remember in the beginning when I started with you, I still thought he was okay and loved him. Now, hate him and see him for exactly what he is, thanks to you. I admit the scorched earth letter is only going to piss him off because you know how much narcs hate things like facts, like you did nothing for 12 years while my mother didn't speak to me, you pussy-whipped cuck. But then I threw in there that my husband, my fourth husband, who's ride or die, the one who got me through figuring out all this narcissistic family model that is so predictable. Well, he had a kidney transplant about 6 years ago because he has a polycystic kidney disease. He's got about 4 years left on the kidney, and then I don't know if he's transplantable again. He's got about 4 to 6 years left to live. So I say to Jay, it's astonishing with all your fucking money, I'm paraphrasing, that you wouldn't give me just a little bit so I could spend the last 4 years with the husband I love. Remember the magnitude of this wealth. It's about 40 million. Don't you think you could fucking spare an extra 200K so I wouldn't have to work and spend time with my husband until your fucking narc ass dies and I can collect the life insurance? My aunt begged him to give me about 200K. She was crying at the airport. Please, please do it. I get it. I sound like a spoiled bitch, but it's all relative. Just take the zeros off and it's the world that you grew up in. Dude, he sends my husband a check for $15,000 addressed to my husband. How passive aggressive. Like, what the fuck is 15 grand gonna do for me, motherfucker? And you got 40 million to erect a memorial to yourself. You know, I understand what you're saying. And it does, on one end, sound a little spoiled, but when you're sitting on that type of money and he knows your husband's dying, that's how you know you never had a family, Carolyn. It shouldn't even be something you should have to ask at that point. The fact that they put you in the position that you would even have to ask and make you feel like you're, because it does and it doesn't. When you got that type of money and you're talking about La Jolla, California, and I've looked into her, she's right. And it's probably more than 40 million, Carolyn. It always is. It's always, you always underestimate with these people. It's more than that. Just the property, man. I told my husband, just ignore it. We're not going to cash it. We never even got it. He's been checking his bank account all week looking for it to clear because he sent my aunt an email telling her to tell me the fucking triangulation to check my mailbox. Then he says she doesn't check her mailbox for days at a time. What? Like, where the fuck did that come from? Another put down, another underhanded comment. I hope this isn't too long, but you're really helping me process all this bullshit, and I don't know how to thank you, except I wish I had more money to send you, and that's the honest truth. But for sure, the last act hasn't played out yet, Carolyn. Well, I wish I'd gotten to it a little earlier, Carolyn. You know, it's been... Like, I relate to a lot of this because I grew up very similar to you. Very similar situation with this affluence guilt, and it's bullshit. It's complete and total bullshit. Because there's no different. It's, yeah, you're affluent, but it's in a lot of ways it's worse because people think that you don't deserve any type of, you can't be abused. It's like another form of privilege. When all it is it's herpes. Herpes doesn't care if you're rich or poor. Okay, if you're exposed to it, you're gonna get it. These people put you in a position where you're asking for things that shouldn't even have to be asked, because if you were a real family, it would just be done. So I wish I had gotten to it, but November's always a tough month for me to begin with, and with my mother and with everything this year. And since Thanksgiving, I wanted to get back to making videos sooner, but since Thanksgiving, I have been swamped with, it's been all phone calls. It's been all phone calls since Thanksgiving, because people who dealt with their parents, it's been nuts. And, you know, we've had some, you know, Thanksgiving was, let's just put it this way. So, somebody was going to do something really bad on Thanksgiving, was considering hurting themselves on Thanksgiving. And luckily, because, you know, there's people who do things behind the scenes. You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes on with people who are too proud to, you know, to ask publicly, and who don't want to be out there. And, you know, there's a lot of good that's been going on. So it's been nonstop phone calls. I got even more phone calls today. I mean, I've been taking phone calls, you know, up until 8 o'clock at night lately. And it's been like that. So I'm sorry it took a little while, but these things always keep getting me refreshed and charged and ready to go. So this is narcissistic herpes. It doesn't matter. Doesn't care. Don't let the money fuck you up. That's what they want. It doesn't matter. Herpes don't care if you're rich or poor. If you're exposed to it, you're going to get it. And once you got it, there's no getting rid of it. It's only maintaining it. I mean, and that's the reality of it. You're entitled to your anger. You're entitled to all of it. All of it. All of it. It's not wrong for wanting them to be gone at all. They deserve it. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution and story, Carolyn. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you all, this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.